What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Welcome back to Carpo's channel. I'm making more videos. I'm just going to keep on making videos because that's what I do. I have so many thoughts in my head to share that I'll just keep talking and talking to the end of time. But there is a method to my madness, I guess. You know, when I first started this channel years ago, I really was just doing the same thing I'm doing today, speaking my mind on issues. But I've realized that as I gain more and more subscribers, I'd really like to refine my channel, you know, down the line and you know, tackle specific subjects, which is what I've been doing over the last couple of years. But I like to keep it very general and broad because there's just so much BS out there. I mean, I have a really good BS filter, but I also know better than to pretend like I understand all the answers, or that I'm not so arrogant that I won't agree with someone if they can show me where I'm wrong, as long as it's useful knowledge, you know. But I learned long ago I'm not going to sit and debate whether the earth is flat or round with someone. I'm not going to sit and discuss the chemtrail conspiracies, or whether JFK or the moon landing was real or a hoax, any of these things, or whether or not millions of, governments, government officials are all in cahoots in this giant conspiracy to keep things quiet from us all. That said, using that as an example, I'm well aware that there have always been conspiracies. That's what I mean. It just doesn't, my channel doesn't lean towards those subjects because I'm not, I don't want to get into it. You know, it's just not worth my time to sit and argue about things that I feel no real, I don't know, power to change, even if they are true, kind of thing, especially when they're historical. But through my years, I talk about that because through my years, especially a couple decades ago, I got really into end times prophecies, and I was obsessed with things like, Nostradamus and Edgar Cayce and a variety of other historical figures, as well as some of these modern day speakers, if you will. I read a book by William Cooper, Behold a Pale Horse, kind of opened my eyes to a lot of the corruption, MK Ultra and government, underground type things. So over time, I eventually found that I had to choose between my circle of concern and circle of influence, as one person put it. Your circle of concern are things that you may say, well, this is not how things should be, but there's nothing I can really do about it, so I'll just be aware of it. Then there's your circle of influence. These are the things that we can actually do. My example, I guess, would be, you can yell up and scream at the chemicals in the sky from supposed chemtrails, but at the same time, you might not even be willing to fight your local polluting environmental, the corporations and the businesses down the street. In other words, there are fights that can be won. There are fights that are worth fighting. But it feels like we are so wrapped up in the negative of what's going on. I guess that's what I'm getting at. We're always looking for what's wrong with the world, because it's really hard to see the positive sometimes, especially when our own lives are shitty sometimes. We all get stuck in these ruts where, we're depressed or anxious, we've got bills to pay, we have obligations, we get ourselves in trouble, we lose a loved one. The whole idea, that life is suffering isn't based on some, horrible, rough life in the fields. It's based on every one of our experiences, even the billionaire. And sometimes, from what I've read, more often the billionaire. More money, more problems isn't just some random saying. It's true. The more obligations we have more fears and more anxieties. But I'll stop short because I know there's somebody out there who's saying, yeah, it's easy for somebody to say if they have money, and completely agree on that. If you have no money, then you have nothing, at all, and you can't afford your own food. Well, that's just as bad as having too much. It's much worse than having too much, obviously. But this video specifically, and I'm going to try to tackle this, is just about, is it the end times? Are we in the end times? I've been hearing this for 30 years. I've read every story and, conspiracy about it, down to any of these supposed ancient, prophecies, which always turn out to be bunk. And not only that, but since YouTube was created, I've been watching videos of people making these claims that, oh, here comes October surprise, and next year we're going to get this, and did you know volcanoes are erupting? You know, did you know that we are having more earthquakes than ever? And I'm only speaking of a specific type of person, but the kind of person who is just dying for the world to die, if you will. Somebody who is just every day looking for the wrongs in the world and looking for what's wrong. It must be painful, but at times in my life when I wasn't doing well, I found myself seeking out more negative things like that. I was trying to find what's wrong with the world. You know, at a time right now in my life where I'm having, you know, many issues in my own life, it would be easy for me to get sucked back into that negativity, where I could start making videos talking about what's wrong with the world instead of how to better your life. You know, I'm just a human. I don't have a particular subject matter for my channel. I talk about whatever's on my mind. But there are a couple different perspectives to look at our future as far as a collapse. Perfect example is these two books, I guess, that I brought out as kind of props, if you will. This is Collapse by Jared Diamond. It's called How Societies Choose to Fail or Succeed. And it goes back in history and shows how various colonization of various places led to the decimation and elimination or gentrification today. How societies change by running out other groups of people. And this book is phenomenal. It's a phenomenal book, and there was actually a documentary made about it too, based on the book. So, but it's really, people don't want to hear it. You know, people don't want to hear about that the world's falling apart and that we're following the same path, that we're in this age of decadence. So I'm saying it's important to be aware of it, but it doesn't mean that we have to see it as a negative thing. We don't have to look at it like, well, the world's going to die, everyone's going to, you know, there's going to be a solar flare, take out the grid, everyone's going to suffer and die, and that a few million strong people will survive and repopulate the earth. That's a possibility, but it's not something we should aspire for or obsess on. I think we should more look into a future where we can make it work, where the population willingly starts to decline because people realize having more kids, you know, is going to cause more problems in the future. A future where people make the decisions, but it seems like we're past a tipping point, and people are like, "Hey, we're screwed now." You know, global warming's out of control, regardless of whether it's man-made or not. You know, the pollution, the environment, plastic in the oceans. You know, I have a whole list of what ails us. In fact, one year I even did that. I wrote a list: what ails us, and then what we love. And yeah, it's crazy. It's a vast list of things. I guess the other book I grabbed was this one, and it's the alternative, I guess, version of a dystopian future. This would be The Return of Quetzalcoatl, which was, you know, this goes back into Mayan prophecy and the whole 2012. And the reason I use this one is because when I read that book years ago, I got sucked into the 2012 thing. I was fascinated with it. In fact, it was in 2012. I remember I just grabbed this out of my back room there. I bought this this coin here. Let's see if I can show it, focus the camera on it. But it's from 2012. It's got a little Mayan dude on there and some calendar symbols. And on the back it has this, I think it was like some sort of I don't remember exactly what it is. Point being that during that time, you know, I was one of the people that was saying, not that I hope the world's destroyed, but I hope we can have a new beginning and start over, improve ourselves, improve each other. But first we have to know what we want. And there are so many arrogant assholes out there right now telling everybody this is how you should live your life, and that we're going to go into the age of enlightenment only when everyone's vegan, or only when everyone takes this God, or only when everyone believes this. And we have to work with what we have. We have to be willing to take a deep breath and let go of the bullshit. Let go of the things that that we can't change, the things that are in our circle of concern, and deal with the things in our circle of influence. At least that's my belief. And I better check to see if I've got enough time on my camera here. Yep, got a couple minutes. Good. I use my phone, and it's just this, doesn't have a SD card slot or anything. I have nowhere to put expanded memory and whatever. We work with what we have. I guess that's and that's to me an important thing. We work with what we have. We work with our situation, and it's really important not to be resentful towards others for what they do have. to not try to, bash the rich for being rich. Or, if you're doing well, not bash the poor merely for being poor, because that happens a lot. It's sad that we pit ourselves at odds with one another over such mundane lines, such blurred lines, such gray areas that nobody really understands. And that the wise out there, the people who can see through it, there's many of us, but we're all still stuck in the same paradigm. And I've learned over the years to realize it's not an exception. It's not like there's only a few of us and everyone else is dumb sheep. And people have to stop thinking that way. Most people are fairly intelligent enough to have thought through at least some basic, life complexities at one time in their life. The thing is, many choose to shut it out and push it away, because it takes a deep mind to try to ponder all the different thoughts. And I find myself blocking a lot of it out, because there are some people who are much deeper than I will ever go, and I'm happy just skimming the edge of consciousness and reality, because the places I've gone in my own mind, I don't know. It's a crazy world out there, and I understand why people are frustrated, but hopefully we can learn to get along a little bit, and I think we're doing pretty well. I really do. I think it could be much worse. So I guess maybe I'm seeing the glass half full. I see the glass is always full. Completely full. You've just got to look at it right. Peace, everybody. Take care.